Okay, some rugby union news that broke a few hours ago. Warren Gatland has sensationally resigned as Wales head coach. Now, the writing was sort of on the wall. There was a lot of rumours circulating that at the end of the Six Nations, the union and Gatland would probably part company, which would give the union some time before the summer tour to Japan to get a replacement in and work through, you know, the ins and outs of that. Now, a lot of the issues with the Welsh Union and Welsh Rugby are financial and structural off the field, and that lies with the union itself. On the Warren Gatland side of things, the timing's poor. It doesn't help these young players. This is a very young, inexperienced squad. A lot of these players aren't ready for Test rugby. Let's be honest. But when you should obviously they're proud to represent their country. There's a lot of honour in it. There's a lot of pride in it. But they're being rushed into the Test arena because there's just not enough good players available to play, because the Welsh game is in financial crisis. The domestic premiership in Wales is basically bankrupt. The union's basically bankrupt, and the four regions aren't making any money either. They're hemorrhaging cash. And there's a lot of issues behind that predate Warren Gatland resigning the first time, back in 2019 when he walked away and he said, I'm resigning, I'm calling it a day, I don't want a contract extension, but I'll help choose my successor, which was Wayne Pivac. Look how that turned out. And then he got a call saying, can you come and save us again? And yeah, Welsh Rugby was in a bad state when Warren Gatland took over the first time. But he had the talented players available to get out of the situation. He had some young talent coming through who were really impactful in his first stint in charge. And those young players became veteran players who became leaders. Your Alan Wynne-Jones, your Lee Halfpennies, your Liam Williams. You had Dan Biggar, Reece Priestland, Hook. You had some great players. Great players. George North. You could list them. Great players coming through. And they became a good core leadership core that was instrumental to some Grand Slams, some Six Nations titles, a World Cup semi-final, and being one of the best Test nations going. Ending their hoodoo against some of the Southern Hemisphere nations, actually beating Australia and South Africa. Unfortunately, and I do mean this, he was part of the reason why Wayne Pivac came in. He chose his successor. He gave input to the union. The union signed off on that. It didn't work out. Now, they got a Six Nations title in there, COVID assisted, but it didn't work out. He resigns in 2019. Sean Edwards goes to France. Warren Gatland comes back in. And I was dubious at the time. I didn't think it was a good idea bringing back the old coach to try and fix the problem that he semi-created by his successor being sacked, because and him coming in to tidy up the mess. I didn't think it was the right appointment, and it's turned out that's the case. He also doesn't have Sean Edwards barking at the players in training and getting them fit, getting their defensive systems in place. And 14 Test defeats in a row is not great, but the timing of this departure doesn't help anyone. It doesn't, because there's a week and a half until their next Test match, and whoever comes in on an interim basis has basically got to pick the team up, get the players playing his style, which will probably be different to Warren Gatland. He might have his own ideas on playing the game, attack and defence, set plays, the whole lot. Get a coach in and play 3 more Test matches, and then break summer tour to Japan, break autumn internationals in November and December. It doesn't leave the union long to get a successor in, and in quickly. And whoever it is, on an interim or permanent basis, because you've got Easter Beer Ireland who's interim. The Irish Union ain't going to let him go because he's Andy Farrell's assistant while Andy Farrell's coaching the Lions. And then you've got Michael Shaker, for example. Joel Schmidt is going to be available when he leaves Australia at the end of his Rugby Championship campaign. But again, you're going to be parachuting a guy into a situation that Gatland leaving has made worse. Now, the union's got to take the majority of the blame. Finances, youth development, getting rid of their elite academy, you can name it. Structures of the game off the field. A lot of it has to lie with the union. The old boys club is the Welsh Union, which quite honestly hasn't been governing the game in Wales and managing the game in Wales well for a long time. Long time. But Warren Gatland's decision to go now, timing's really weird for me. I feel for these young players who've got to get themselves up for a Test match, or 3 more Test matches in the Six Nations, and somehow avoid a wooden spoon. I mean, their confidence has got to be rock bottom. Some of these players have never won a Test match. Ever. That's got to be like a real kick in the teeth. Now, I know Scotland and Italy have also gone through their struggles in the Six Nations era, where they've had wooden spoons and they've had losing streaks, especially Italy not winning a game in the Six Nations for a lengthy period at one point. But the difference there was you could see the effort, the commitment, and the willingness from Scotland and Italy to bleed new players, keep experienced players around, and keep with the programme, not give up on whatever it was they were trying to do. Italy and Scotland are much better as a result because they stuck with some players who otherwise, under another regime would have been dropped, and they stuck with their youth development as well. They also made a different decision that Wales haven't done, and that's allowing players to play overseas, which has benefited Italy and Scotland. Same with South Africa, a much better nation, yes, but the South African economy isn't great. The Welsh economy isn't great. There's not a lot of money in South Africa. The South African Union and the Springboks and Rassie Erasmus decided, let's let our players play overseas to help with player development and finances. Guess what? They've won 2 World Cups as a result, back to back. So Wales need to look at their selection rules as well, because they've lost Lewis Rees-Zammit to the game because he was reaching the age and cap threshold where he would have to play in Wales, not for Gloucester. And this is where I think they're making a massive error, is you've got to be playing in Wales to represent Wales. Massive error, that massive error that is not helping the team. Because some of these players could earn more money playing in England or playing in France, but they're earning less money to play in Wales, but they want to get paid. They want to, earn, their keep. And the Welsh game just doesn't have the money, which is killing the Welsh game. But yeah, I find the decision of Warren Gatland to walk away now really troubling. It doesn't help anyone. If anything, it makes the situation worse. As I say, I've got a lot of sympathy for these young lads who are putting on the jersey week in, week out and getting battered week in, week out. They're not ready for Test rugby. That's clear and obvious, some of these players. They are not on the same level as the other nations in the Six Nations. Even a England side that's in transition. They're just not on... They've lost 3 out of the last 4 tests to Italy, for example. This is where Wales are at. They are just not at the races in comparison to the rest of the tournament. And then you've got nations like Georgia and Romania, for example, and Portugal sniffing from the European Championship, the championship below, and there's the argument for promotion and relegation. Very interesting that when Italy aren't at the bottom of the Six Nations, the promotion relegation argument suddenly disappears very, very quickly. But when Italy are struggling, oh yeah, throw them out. That's no. If you want to have promotion relegation and you want to mix it up a little bit, every nation should have to go through this and sweat on it a little bit. So Wales, they've been treading water for a long time, and it's finally caught up with them. Now, yes, COVID didn't help with the finances, but my God, the situation the Union and the Test side finds itself in is bad. And I'm sorry, but Warren Gatland's decision to go now, I think, makes the situation worse. It also makes it a lot worse for his successor as well, which I think doesn't help them try and fix the problems that he's inheriting. But there we go. Warren Gatland has resigned. Place your thoughts in the comments section below on his resignation. How much blame lies with Gatland for the performances, and how much blame lies with the Union for a lot of problems, including player development and player selection. Place your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.